And color and sound can reveal the implications of changes in life. So as things change, they get lighter, they get darker. Color and sound can express this. Color will go from dark to light, and sound will go from silence to sound. And they reveal kind of the nature of existence, or the nature of the wheel. Okay, so here's just a circle. We're just going to begin with the zodiac factors now, but here's a circle with a spectrum on it, just basic spectrum. It's not perfect, but it's close enough to serve our purposes. So we're going to have to, here's how the color fits in a circle. You could put sound around the circle with the color, and you'll get to, well, if you get into any kind of marketing or advertising, everybody's working with color and sound and taste and smells to try and make something look good or make something feel good and get the best energy. And they're working with this type of information, although they don't realize it's astrology. So here we are back with a basic circle and a dot. But when we see the circle and the dot, we get a sense of the wheel and the dot within it. It suddenly has a deeper meaning and deeper implication. So anytime you're working with astrology, you're going out in the wheel, you're looking what's happening, why this, why that. It takes work even for the astrologer. You have to really take the effort to see how someone is connected to their inner self, or how conscious they are or not conscious they are of this. Okay, so in the year, this is one of the most important factors of zodiac. The two extremes are the longest night and the longest day. December 22nd and June 21st in the northern hemisphere. It's reversed in the southern hemisphere. But the longest day, longest night, this measures our cycle of our year. It measures our seasons, and it sets the wheel so we can anchor it in. So once we've seen the two extremes, the longest day and longest night, we can start to see how the cycle works. From the greatest night, from December 22nd until June 21st, the daylight is continually increasing. It keeps increasing from a little bit, until it builds up to the longest day, till it gets the highest it can be, the most brightest it can be. So at December 22nd, sun sets at 4:30. It rises about 7:30. Like it rises about 8:30. We have a little bit. We don't have that much. We have maybe 8 to 10 hours of daylight in a day, depending how far north you are. But and you would have the 16 hours of night. But when you get to June 21st, the other half of the year, it's the opposite. There's like 16 hours of daylight. There's 8 hours of nighttime, and you really notice these differences. And these differences is the real texture of the season, the real foundation of astrology. So as you go from December 22nd, the daylight slowly, it's still very dark out, it's slowly increasing, and steadily builds up to June 21st. This is this is the first category in astrology. It's ignored in most books you're going to read about astrology. Yet it's one of the most important factors to understand about someone when you're working with a chart. So in astrology, this is a brand, it divides two ways. So these are the natural insights where you're seeing the light and the dark and watching the experimental phases and cycles. There's a certain point where it goes into numbers and numerology, and we're dividing the circle into sections and giving meanings according to the numbers. That's the second layer of it. In the world, that's become the main factor of astrology, the number associations, the 12 signs, the 12 house, 7 planets, and the number associations have been used extensively and very insightfully to work with a horoscope. But it can, if you don't add these initial foundations to nature, to life, to how it's working, you miss the whole connection of how I'm connected to life, how nature is me, and how I'm interacting with it. So this is very important. The first factor in understanding the zodiac wheel is that half of the year daylight is increasing. So, and then the other half of the year, from June 21st to December 22nd, the darkness is increasing. So just when you get to the first day of summer, the longest day of the year, the darkness is already starting to decrease through the summer. The days are getting shorter all the way through the summer. And then it gets darker and darker and darker and colder until December 22nd. So this is a natural cycle. We plant by this cycle. We grow by this cycle. We live by this cycle. If we're not in touch with the cycle, we're not going to be here very long. It's just natural common sense. So what happens? What is this measuring? What happens when we're looking at the daylight? What happens when daylight increases? Like how do we observe? We can see the light and the dark. We observe that. We experience that. But the more light there is, the more activity there is, the more heat there is. The more light, heat, the more energetic things are, the more active things are. So as daylight is increasing, so our activity levels are increasing. So in the winter, boy, it can be really dark by 4:35, so you wouldn't necessarily want to walk down dark streets in a city or something. You're much more cautious when you're going out. And you don't necessarily do as much outwardly, but by the time you get to the summer and you have sunrise at 4 in the morning and it's not setting till 10 o'clock, boy, it's hard to get the kids to sleep at 6 o'clock or 7 when it's still light out. So, but during this period, this process, as every minute more in a day that there's more daylight, there's a minute's more activity. So this process is becoming more and more active, more and more active, more and more independent. The more active, the more independent, the more I'm doing things, the more I want to do things, the more independently active I am. So this increasing daylight represents the increasing activity levels and the increasing individuality, increasing need to be free, to do one's own thing. Get out of my way. That's why it's easy to study in the wintertime, but by the time you get to June, no one wants to sit in a class. You want to break away from it. You want to do something else. You don't want to sit there. So there's the summer break because no one's concentrating. Everyone wants to be doing things. Most of the passive things when we watch TV or we're part of school, these are all things that happen in the nighttime half of the year. But coming this period of daylight increasing from the darkness from December 21st, 22nd up to June 21st, it's very vivid. It's a primal insight. You have to take some time to think about it and see it and connect with it. Now, it's even true, even when you go down to the equator, and you're measuring this daylight increasing, the cycle still happens, but at the equator, the sun's overhead, it goes back and forth overhead, and there might only be 6 to 10 minutes of difference of daylight from the longest night to the longest day. There wouldn't be that much. There would still be a difference, but the cycle is there, but not as much. It gets more and more extreme as you go north, and you see the 4 seasons, and you can see this clearly. When you get up to the North Pole, there's just 6 months of daylight, and 6 months of darkness. You really extremely see this cycle. But you still can see the sun coming up and going down. You see the rising and the setting. But this process of seeing striving to be more independent. So anyone born, see, when you're born, you pick up the whole zodiac, you have all the planets, you have all the houses, but where they are sets conditions or sets priorities or just patterns in motion. So you have a certain a priori of experiencing. So if you're born on the daylight half of the year, your purpose in life, if your sun is in Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, or Gemini, you're on that daylight increasing half of the year. And you're continually striving to make things work for you, work better for you. I'm going to do this. I got to do this. Get out of my way. The striving, the energy, the life force is moving to being more independent and more free. And as long as you're feeling that process is going forward, you'll feel healthy. As soon as you're not moving in that direction, something's going to seem wrong. Something's going to be abrasive. You're going to have crises. You're going to block away, and you'll have eventually if you maintain it, you have a breakdown because you're going against your own nature. So this process of the movement increasing. So for a Capricorn or Aquarius or a winter person, it's a very cautious time. There's so much cold, you have to be cautious about everything, but still you're looking very closely when you get a moment to be free, a moment to do your own thing. You still don't want to be told what to do. You'll adjust, you'll do what you have to, but you're still going to be pushing to get a little bit more. One day I'll have this together. One day I'll get. So continually along this process, you're increasing your independence and your individuality. Now, every chart you ever looked at, or any chart you know, or person you know, you need to check this out. Is it true? Are they trying to be independent? Are they trying to be more free? You get if you're on the daylight increasing half of the year, and you try and get in a relationship, the relationship has to give you the room to be doing a bit more things yourself. It can't be oppressing you, telling you, you still have to have this sense of I'm doing it, I'm making it happen, or I'm getting more independent through this. So this is the people who are trying to break free, to try and be more independent, try and do their own thing more and more during this December 22nd all the way over to June 21st. When you get to the June 21st section and go to December 21st, the nights are starting to get longer. The daylight's starting to get shorter. The darkness is increasing. That's a measure of the darkness increasing. Every day there's a little more darkness. Every minute there's a little more darkness as you go through the year, through the next 6 months. So people that have the darkness increasing, they have a sense that it's like they're moving into, they're not being more active, they're being more, you would say more passive. I would say more receptive to other people. They're a little bit more involved with other people. They're trying to do things for other people. They want to be appreciated by other people. They want to be involved with other people. Other people can mean more to them than themselves. They're trying to belong more and more.